Hey guys, well I'm not a very happy camper, but I'll explain why in a minute. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Here I am with my day 7 of the Women in Translation Readathon, and I'm not a very happy camper because I'm really befuddled because I'm having to reshoot everything that I shot outside, so that's what I'm not very happy about. I took you back to that gorgeous temple nearby. It was a beautiful sunny day, not too hot that I was out there 20 minutes. I certainly didn't want to stay longer than 20 minutes, but I was quite pleased with it. I listened to it, it sounded fine, but then when I was editing it, I maxed the volume to 400% because without a microphone, that's how you can hear me clearly, is I amp it up to 400%. So at 400%, the wind in the microphone was unbearable. Anyway, I'm going to have to redo it now, and I'm not pleased about it because I got to go to work, so it's going to be abbreviated, so maybe you're lucky. This was a bail. In earlier footage, I read you the final chapter that caused me to bail, but it wasn't the final chapter. It was just accumulation. I got to 50%, and really all that I was enjoying by that point was hearing Karen of Run Right Reads talk about it. The writing here is just so beautiful, but this is not a novel. It is not a Sean novel. It was a novel stitched together by complex images and symbols, and the characters were paper thin, and there was no real story, or what little story there was, it was taking forever to tell, but the characters were just flat, and the symbols were rich and elusive and confusing. And I couldn't keep track of the symbols from one chapter to the other because I don't really care about images or symbols. I care about people. I care about characters, and the characters were wafer thin. So I read to the halfway mark. I'm so glad that I gave it an honest try, but it's not for me. Britta very diplomatically told me that it might not be a Sean book and that I might want to try her other book, The Hunger Angel, instead, and I will try that because Herta Müller is a beautiful writer, or at least the translation was beautiful. So yeah, but no, this was not for me at all. So there. So I thought, okay, I'm going to finish the Women in Translation Readathon and miss the prompt about the Nobel laureate. But scribbed to the rescue, I opened the list of the outrageously few women who have been awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature, and came across Wisława Szymborska, the poet, who won it, I believe, in 1999, and she died in 2012. I think those dates are right. And there was a book of poetry of hers called Here. The translation's called Here. And I still didn't look up the translations, and I'll just have to put it down because I don't have time to do anything. It was a 98-page book that it was published in Polish and English, so really a 50-page book, and I read it in one sitting this afternoon and absolutely loved the poetry. I don't read poetry. I don't know anything about poetry. It took me a few poems to get into it, but her poems are witty and cerebral and quite moving, some of them. This one is a short one. It's maybe my favorite. I will read it to you now. It's called Example. You've maybe already seen it on Instagram. I put it up earlier today. Example. A gale stripped all the leaves from the trees last night, except for one leaf left to sway solo on a naked branch. With this example, violence demonstrates that, yes, of course, it likes its little joke from time to time. Isn't that wonderful? So I will put the translators' names below, and sorry I don't have time to do any research on them. I am short on time, and I had a really luxuriously paced footage outdoors with gorgeous temple in the background that I can't use, so rah! So I finished in less than, about an hour, 90 minutes tops, the poetry, so the Nobel thing is done. So that means that I am going to be ending this. I will have three books on my original TBR. Well, as amended, I'm not going to do the Welsh one, the one that was translated from Welsh, because I will use this book for that prompt, a language that you hadn't read a book translated from before, Urdu novel, The One Who Did Not Ask by Altaf Fatima. I'm loving this one. It's probably going to take me several weeks to finish because it's a book that demands a slow reading. But I'm absolutely smitten with it. This one's a little bit similar. Cora Sandel's Alberta and Jacob. I'm reading it slowly, but I expect to finish this one up early next week. The Urdu one, I'm not sure, but this one is an absolute delight. I'll be talking about it a little bit more in just a minute. And I didn't get to this one, and this is the one with red on the cover, Fear and Trembling by Amélie Nothomb. So I will read it early next week, I think. So that's what's unfinished, to do everything that I set as a challenge for myself. Oh, and I should also mention, I'm reading the biography of Kate Roberts, the Welsh novelist and short story writer who wrote exclusively in Welsh, but I'm reading her biography, which is in English. So that was like an extra add-on challenge. It was all very confusing a few days ago, but I'm reading a few pages of it a day, and it might take me months to read it. I don't care. I don't need it for any of the prompts, but really enjoying it, really learning about Kate Roberts. And still, none of you have told me that you've ever heard of her or read her, but I want to check out her fiction soon. But I'll just finish up, because yeah, this is going to be a short day 7 vlog. Just me sitting in our bedroom, because this is the best lighting in the apartment, and I've just got to get this done, because I've got other booktube stuff coming down the pipe. Stay tuned. I was reading this afternoon, and the protagonist, Alberta, she's out for a walk. She's always going out for a walk, and to kind of still her mind and imagine and write poetry in her head and kind of come to terms with her screwed up family life. And she talks about, she sees blue smoke coming off over there somewhere, and she says to herself, "Oh, the Lapps have returned for the summer." And I thought, I don't remember that family name, because we've been here reading all about all the various neighbors and all the people in the town, and I got most of the names in my head. And a Lapp, that's not one I'd heard before. And then, but I remembered something a couple pages before where somebody had a Lapp doll, L-A-P-P. What is that? So Google, Wikipedia informed me that that is the now outdated and pejorative name in English for the Sami people. And Wikipedia doesn't call them an ethnic group, it doesn't call them an indigenous group, it calls them a people, a Finno-Ugric people, which for millennia have inhabited large parts of Norway, Sweden, northern parts of Finland, and the Murmansk Oblast of Russia. And in English, historically, they've been known as the Lapps or the Laplanders. I have heard the word Laplander, but now that is a derogatory term. So the kind of semi-nomadic people, some of them put down roots and stayed, those, especially those that were coastal fishermen, fur trapping and sheep herding, but the ones that were reindeer hunters, they moved around quite a bit. And according to this Wikipedia article, the Sami people have been quite oppressed, and especially during this decade of the 1920s when Norway treated them quite horribly, displacing them and forcing them to change their name to a Norwegian name if they didn't want their lands taken from them, and so on and so on. So I'd never heard of the Sami people. Have you? Do they have a literature? Are there any Sami novels out there to read? That was just fascinating. I love when I'm reading a novel and suddenly some topic from the real world enters my consciousness, my awareness for the first time. So that was a fun little nosedive. And I also really, really appreciate even more today the way that Cora Sandel shows this screwed up family and all the characters in the family in such a wonderfully three-dimensional way, so that as awful as some of the behavior is, that some of these, especially the parents, do manifest, you can't, they're three-dimensional, so everybody's gray, and it's really well done. It's totally a Sean book. I'm loving it. I can't wait to get to the next two. So that is my abbreviated wrap-up. I have had an absolute blast doing the Women in Translation Readathon, the extended version. Those of you that have been tough slugging it out with me for 10 days. I did it over 10 days. I added 3 days to the beginning. Read a bunch of great books. I'm not going to do a wrap-up video. I'm going to be busy with other booktube stuff in September. I'll just fold whatever is unfinished into my Friday reads from here on. I might do some separate reviews if I feel the urge, but otherwise I won't do any more Women in Translation videos. This has been great. Thank you for accompanying me on the journey. Thanks for watching.